welcome back to the Inventors podcast. I'm Rodrigo Lima, longtime inventor, 20 years plus, bringing ideas to life. I'm here with Carmen from the United Inventors Association. You know, this podcast is about sharing information with inventors and startups. We're here to help people learn about taking an idea from a concept and then monetizing that idea by either manufacturing it and selling it or by licensing it to some other partner or some bigger company that's interested in purchasing the idea.
Yep, no doubt.
I would love if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and kind of what your experience is, what you do.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, first off, thank you, Rodrigo, for inviting me. It's great to see you. It was awesome seeing you at the PGA show. I didn't get to see you at the hardware show because I know that you were super busy out there. I was looking forward to catching up with you again. I love what you guys do. You do a lot of cool stuff out there. And I kind of follow you guys on social media just to see what you're working on next. But for me, I am currently the president of the United Inventors Association. For you that say, what the hell is the UIA? What do you guys do? We are a 30-year-old nonprofit that our exclusive job is to help educate inventors. We help get them in front of the right people, and we connect them with service providers that are true, trusted, and ready to go. So again, I didn't found the UIA. It is 30-year-old. It was born out of the USPTO just because they were having problems connecting with inventors, with product developers, and they thought, hey, let's start up a group so they could do it. I was a board member for many years and voted onto the presidency chair just 2 years ago. Since then, we are building UIA up. We have now 18 inventor clubs under our belt and growing from there. Again, we have over 100,000 members. If you're not a UIA member, go ahead and join. It is free. It is UIAUSA.org. And that's what we do, man. It's awesome.
Awesome, man. So what's the cost of being a member?
So the great part about the UIA is a nonprofit and it is free. We are testing an upper level member service that could be low cost, maybe $2 a month or $5 a month, just to get that little bit extra, maybe connect with some of the people we have, or they spend a little extra time with you, or you get some different documentation or things like that. It's always been free. We really don't want to change it, but we do need to bring cash into the UIA. We are a nonprofit. We are and work on donations only. So that's the great part.
Cool. So I didn't know that, man. It's good to know. Do you know any people that have taken products and licensed them successfully?
You know, I know personally several people. You know, licensing, as you mentioned, licensing is hard, man. It's not like it used to be. Everybody thinks that licensing is, and you get these groups out there that will remain nameless that, you know, convince people that, hey, yeah, license your product. All you got to do is read this book or create a sales sheet. And
just pay for my mentoring services for $24.99 for a 6 months.
People hit the lotto too, so I don't want to say it doesn't happen, but man, you got to be in it to win. It doesn't work. So licensing is hard. It's just as hard. And Rodrigo, you will be the judge of it. As manufacturing, you really got to decide. You sometimes can do both. We do have a lot of people, and when I say a lot, you know, multiple people that have license have gotten pretty good licensing contracts, because even when you license, that licensing agreement is really the judge of how well you did. The agreement, if it's not written down, it is not said.
And then later enforcing it to make sure that you are getting paid your fair due of your royalty, right? Of the payment.
Oh my God, the first thing they want to do is not pay you. So it has to be super important. If you don't know contracts, if you don't know licensing, get in touch with Rodrigo, get in touch with somebody that knows, and show them that licensing contract, because I guarantee you, they don't want to pay you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would connect them with one of my preferred legal partners, because when it comes to legal matters, I want to bring in the specialists. You know, I can obviously read over a contract and have a general idea what it is, but you know, for those certain matters, I definitely think, you know, saying you should you know, spend a little bit of money to consult with the proper attorney for contractual and understands licensing. And And if you guys need any contacts for that, please reach out to us, and I'll be able to get you guys on the right path. We'll share that information on the description for the preferred partners page. And what that is basically just people that we've worked with in the past, that we've had success, that we like working with. And, so we're really excited to always help my audience and potential clients get to know these people, and be able to kind of get an idea of who these attorneys are by the podcasts that I do with them and the conversations and the information they share. So
you got to connect with the attorneys and service providers. You know, it can't be just a one-way thing. You have to be able to talk with them and ask them questions and trust them. So yeah, it's great, Rodrigo. That's awesome that you have that.
This one's a kind of a tricky one, man. You ready for a tricky one? I mean, I've been giving you low balls all day. So you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
What do you see for the future of inventing?
The future of invention is huge, man. Yeah. I mean, it's not even tricky. You always are inventing. We're constantly inventing. You got to remember that people say, oh, all inventions have been invented. But, you got to remember that people are constantly taking what I call Reese's peanut butter cups, man. They're taking peanut butter and chocolate, they're putting it together, and they're making an invention. So invention is not only moving along, but it's exponentially growing. I mean, we are getting so many new members and so many new products just because people are trying to figure out the best way and easiest way to do things, especially with the pandemic and people being out of work or working from home. Oh my God, the inventions are astronomical. So yeah, the future of invention is huge. It's super bright, just like the top of my head.
I love. Oh man, I love that, man. That was a great answer, brother. What do you have as a best advice for an inventor or a startup?
Yeah, best advice is tough because it depends who it's coming from. So my advice is always really to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And sometimes it takes us. When I use the word mistakes, I even hate that word because you have to learn as you do things. Even when you do something, a misstep, or do something differently, or it doesn't work, you're learning. I mean, 6,000, 9,000 tries at a light bulb. So, you got to remember something, that what you know is important, but what you don't know and what you don't know is super important. So you got to get the right people. Talk to guys like Rodrigo that can help you, put you in that phase, that step of where you are and where you got to go. So there's just so much when you talk about this, and I know you have a lot of information, Rodrigo. We do at the UIA. It's really research, education, knowledge, and not thinking you know everything, because man, you don't. I know I don't.
I mean, even we don't know everything, obviously, right? So it's like, for somebody to here's a good one for you. Okay, all right, that was a great answer, man. You also do manufacturing, right? Your company, your other company. What is the name of the company?
Correct. Earmark Sourcing. Yeah, we are a small run manufacturing firm.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about what you do, man.
Yeah, so Earmark's been around. I've been manufacturing products probably for over 20 years. I started off helping people get products onto television, HSN, QVC, different products. And what I found is those particular entities only like specific types of products. So the people that didn't get on were heartbroken. I'm like, oh my God, those are great products. So slowly I started helping those people manufacturing. I have manufacturers in 7 different countries. I have hands and feet in most of those countries. So it's not like, oh, my friend, it has a PO box in, Bangladesh or Korea or China, and it's not really an entity. So I have actual factories that can make stuff, make products. And, I have over 50 projects going on right now in 7 different countries.
Wow, man. I didn't know you were manufacturing in so many different countries.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's not something that I wanted to do. It's just like, and this, Rodrigo, just like, in the 80s, well, you're not as old as me, but in the 80s and early 90s, everything was manufactured in Japan. Everybody was like, oh, buy American. We don't want to buy stuff from Japan. But slowly, as those owners and as Japan's younger crowd went to college, they came back home to Japan and they didn't want to work in the factories. They were like, we're not working in the factories. What, are you crazy? So most of that manufacturing moved to China. now it's happening again in China. So you have to start going to other countries because the same things happen in China. All of those young kids and those factory owners and all those people are making a lot of money. Their kids are going to school, and those kids are coming back home and going, I don't want to work in the factory, you know. So slowly we're starting to branch out. We have factories in other countries. We are working with them. I mean, we're talking about Honduras and Guatemala and Mexico. They're starting to learn how to plastic inject, which they never had to. You know, it's either, you know, Korea or China, you know, the Asian countries. They're excellent at it. There's nothing wrong with what they do. It's just like what happened in Japan and here in the U.S. They can't get young kids out of college to work in the factories.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, why would you go to college to go work in the factory, man?
Yeah, they'll own a factory, but same thing with here in the U.S. They just can't get the workers.
What would you say are the difference? What would you say is the major difference when it comes to manufacturing in America versus when manufacturing overseas?
You know, people would say right off the bat price, but it's not. It's really not. Americans have the highest technology, the best manufacturing. U.S., I mean, the stuff that we can make here is astronomically good. The problem being is we have to make it in large quantities, or if we make it in small quantities, the cost is very high. So that's the problem that we have. So here, if you can make a product here in the U.S., maybe it's a low volume, high cost product. The U.S. is great, but if you can find a factory that will do small runs for you or as you build, that's great. But that's our biggest thing here in the U.S. We have great workers. We have great factories. It's just that most of us, you know, can't order 10,000 units, 50,000 units, 100,000 units right off the bat. So, you know, you should really put a strategy together, start off in the Asian market, start off in offshore markets, and then have a strategy to move back maybe to Mexico first and then the U.S. It's all part of a strategy with the retailers and knowing what your purchasing power is going to be as your company grows. But yeah, that's really the only difference that I see is just the quantities. The U.S. factories, they have to do a larger quantity, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. You know, I know a lot of companies, what they do is they still have like molds and everything made overseas a lot of times, and then that's shipped into America so that you can get it in at a better price than making a made in the USA mold.
100%, man. And I want all of our listeners to know that there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of the molds, here in the US, you could go to a factory here. They'll most likely going to order those molds from China or somewhere in Asia because we can't beat their technology, their knowledge, their experience, and of course the cost. There's nothing wrong with mold makers here in the US. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. They're probably awesome, but the costs are important and the technology and ability. So the making the molds in Asia and then shipping them here is usually a quarter of the price. There's nothing wrong with that. So we have strategies where we'll make a mold in Asia and we'll actually do a short run. Maybe we make the mold and we make 5,000 units. When we ship the molds here, but we also ship the product here. So you can have that run of product plus the mold that gives you the ability to, while you're finding a place to park that mold, you start to sell your product. It's a cool little strategy to work on. Giving you guys one of my secrets, by the way.
No, that's a great way to do it, man. Plus you get to make sure that the mold is, you know, can run several thousand pieces without having any kind of defects. Because sometimes they'll be able to get a few good parts, and then, you know, so it depends on if you're working with people you can trust, obviously.
Yeah, 100%, man. You know the deal. So how do you guys feel about, you know, I know you've been to a couple shows. How are the shows working out for you? I mean, I love going to those shows, man. You talk to so many people and help so many people. I saw you. I couldn't even get near you. Had so many people talking with you.
Man, it's just, you know, I love the trade shows. You always see the newest and greatest, you know, technology and products being launched. And for me, it's an opportunity to get inspiration by, I mean, I look at it as a designer, as an engineer, as you're the combination of everything you've seen and everything you have access to, right? Your potential of connecting the dots, so to speak. So when you can, if you're a designer, engineer, or entrepreneur, and you're trying to get into a certain space, you want to get as much information as you can and take that show in, see how people do their trade show booths, see what kind of literature they give away, see how they do their advertisements, you know, their giveaways, everything, just so that you can, you know, put together a plan to get your product out there. You have a better idea how to do that. And just, and for all the inventors, you never know who might be a good partner for you to bring your idea to, either as a licensing opportunity or maybe to sell them, product to resell.
Yeah, 100%. And what I love about what you do, and I'd love to ask you how the hell you got into this, man. But you have such a wide spectrum of what you do. Is like I could see you at the show, not only looking at the products, but then looking at the booth and the packaging and like what they put together. And how did they do that? And it probably makes you like mind go like, holy shit, look at all this stuff here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, your product is not just your product, it's the whole experience that you're delivering to your audience, right? So, let's say you start with a cell phone case, for example, but you also have to design the packaging for it. And then you have to design the, your trade show booths or your point of purchase displays. So it really goes, it's much greater, it's more holistic in terms of the experience that you want to give the client, right, or the consumer.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
Hit it right on the head, man. Experience is everything, man. It's like, I brought products to buyers, like 10 products to buyers, and they're like, we like these 3, but the packaging's got to go. And you're like, oh my God, it's just so important to do the right thing at the right time. And so that's why it's good to get somebody like you involved right away so that the person doesn't, and I hate using the word waste, doesn't use resources on packaging or on this particular thing. Cause you'll be like, no, you don't need to do that on packaging. Or where are you going to sell this? Or, hey, you're going to license. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It's so important than asking your neighbor who has never done it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different opinions, and it's, when you're an inventor, you don't know. It's probably, I know because I'm an inventor myself. I went into this because you were asking why I got into this. Well, it's because I had all these ideas in my head, and I would be frustrated that I couldn't visually discuss them, with people. So I couldn't get the ideas drawn out as I wanted to see them. So that was kind of part of it, was the curiosity and the, just being able to make things, understand how things are made, and being able to take any idea, any thought, and turn that into a potential product. For me, it was more accumulation of putting all the things you like doing and finding a job or career, right, that has all those things involved. And I like creating and tinkering and taking things apart and figuring out how they work and figuring out how to improve on them. I always did that growing up. And, I kind of, I went into business for a while. I did a lot of business and international business classes. And, but I felt like until I found product development, I didn't really have a purpose to it. So once I got all those skills that I kind of knew I was good at, and then found some way to harness and output that energy through a career, basically, right? And it was like, for me, it was like a turning point in my life, because I didn't really have a good direction of what I was doing. I was just, just living in the world, going to college, doing the things that you're supposed to do. And, for me, that was the day. As soon as I figured that out, man, this is really what I want to do. I sold all my video games, because I was a gamer at the time, man. I had like 2 PlayStation and Xbox, whatever it was at the time. And I sold all my distractions and just, took a loan out. Didn't ask my dad for money. I took the loan out for myself, because I knew that it wouldn't matter as much if I had it paid for by somebody else. Yeah. So, that was a great time, man. And, I learned so much that now I can get the ideas out of my head. I have all the machines to do it. I got the team to do it. And, we get better every single year, and every single project we work on, we have to have almost like an immediate download of that specific type of product, or like that category. We have to understand things quickly so that we can see what the best, options are to compete in that landscape.
Wow. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. It's great that you did that. Sometimes people would never have found that, and they go through a whole life so frustrated, so crazy, and I know what you mean. It's crazy. Is there a type of product or a product in a certain phase that is like your favorite time to get that product in front of you, or when somebody walks in, you're like, man, this is perfect. You came to me at the exact time.
So I would say it's usually more cost effective to work with me earlier in the process, because, as you, I'm sure, know, The further you are in the process, the more expensive it is to make those modifications. For example, let's say, so this, for example, right here, this is a phone case, and this project is this podcast is sponsored by the Essence Rise phone case.
By the way,
yeah. So this is one of the recent products that we just helped design, and it basically allows you to pump perfume. Let's say your favorite perfume. You take the bottle top off, and there's a little place right there. You just put the nozzle in there, and you just pump it, and it fills up this little container right there, and you get up to 50 sprays.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And so this is a phone case, all nice details that we look at what's the best details in a phone right now. So the soft touch, the velour on the inside, all that stuff is kind of like, those are the details that can help make a product successful, right? But if the client would have not prototyped, our original design looked like this. So it's not as intuitive. It's kind of getting in the way the button was situated. So we went from this design to this design right here.
There you go.
Right. So if you would have gone into and start making molds, and then you're like, well, I don't really like that button. Well, guess what? Now you got to make a new mold, or you might have to make one or two, or part of the mold's going to have to be. So you're going to waste a lot of time and money because you're going to have to redo certain things. So it's always more cost effective to think the idea out, prototype it, test it, make the modifications you need, and then you go to the manufacturer where you're closer to a final product, so that there's less chance of having to make modifications to the mold.
Yeah, and it's so great that you're showing that, because I don't know if you get this, and I'm not trying to be mean. My clients are great, I love them, but for some reason my clients want me to hit it on the head the first time. I'm like, guys, this isn't like NASA. Even NASA, crashed 20 rockets before we made it even into orbit. I mean, right. How am I going to hit it on the head the first time?
Yeah, and they got an army of engineers, right? So, man, I hear you. And that's one of the things I tell my clients is that, like, before they become clients, I let them know that, look, most likely there's going to be 3 rounds of prototyping.
Yeah.
I always do 2 rounds of draft prototyping, because we don't need to worry so much about, is the color right or is the logo perfect. In the beginning, we want to make sure the product feels right in your hand, or the mechanism is working the way we want it to work, or whatever other modification. Too big, too small, make it more heavy duty, make it look more aggressive looking. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you learn when you make that first draft prototype, and then so we'll always make either a second draft prototype after making modifications. Then or we'll go, if there's not a lot of modifications, we'll typically just make the changes and then go right into a beta prototype, which is a final or photography and video ready prototype. Can also be known as a kind of like a pre-production prototype.
That's awesome. Yeah. See, that's what's great about it. And people need to know that and expect that, because even their first version that they mass manufacture, do a shorter run, because you're going to want to make changes. Hell, there's 14 versions of the iPhone. I mean, we're not better than those guys. I mean, they got 10 people working on this thing. I mean, give us a break, right?
Yeah.
It's funny when a client calls me and goes, I just want it to be perfect. I go, I hate that word.
That's one of the truest things, man. But there are certain things that you can do to, that we do to try to make it as perfect as possible in the first shot. One of the things we do is we have a form that we have everybody fill out so that we can better capture the information they have in their mind, so that when the first prototype comes out, it's going to look closer to what they envision. We do that. We keep them in touch throughout the whole process through, concept visualization, concept development. We're visualizing the design so we can all together see what we think it'll look like and how the parts will interact with one another in the assembly. We take these steps to help stay in touch with people the whole time, so that there's less misinformation, less chance of not being on the same step. So,
awesome.
you know, before we go and make a prototype, we always have the client sign a technical drawing that has the overall dimensions of what we're doing so that it's clear, because most clients don't have a 3D software like SolidWorks or Fusion 360 to look and understand what's going on inside the model. So we create technical drawings. You sign off the technical drawings. We make that prototype. We talk about it. We see what needs to be adjusted. Then we would make changes to the 3D model, update that technical drawing, and then make your next prototype. And this way everybody knows what's being worked on. And yeah, man, it's a labor of love for sure, man. And that's not even including like trying to get the product to create the more patentable product as well.
Yep.
So it's so hard to like really say what we do, man. But we're trying to create a product at a price point that can be patentable. You know what I'm saying? That easy to demonstrate. I mean, easy to assemble, low part count usually, cheap to produce. I mean, it's that's the challenge. The challenge is figuring out really how to design it at that price point. Because if I give you $200 to make me a screwdriver, no problem, all day. Now try to do the same when you have like $1 or $2 to manufacture that screwdriver. So part of it's like making it cool, making the product look and feel like it's supposed to the audience and the application is being used for.
That's what I kind of struggle with that. I know you guys, you don't, because you guys have that eye, and I'm kind of jealous because I know you make stuff right in the office, but that's kind of stuff I struggle with, is that I can always make a functional product, but I just lack that making it look cool.
It's almost like it's a specialty in our field of industrial design, is how do we make something look cool? How do we make it look slick? How do we make it look rugged, right? Because if it's exercise equipment, it needs to be easy to clean, but it also has to look cool and tough, protein, right? Or if it's like a medical device, it needs to look clean and easy to, similar. You need to have something that's very clean, something easy to clean, something that's like, if you're designing something like a toy, it's going to be more bubbly in shape. Typically, we're going to use more primary colors a lot of times, more characterized. So, it's always, the challenge is always different. And that's why I love this more and more, is that as we get better, I can provide my services at the best that I've ever been able to provide them at, and be able to do that in so many different, array of different projects, different types of products, from, consumer electronics. We're starting to push more into like the consumer electronics. We've just been slowly pushing more and more towards that as we get more comfortable creating more complicated products.
Yeah. And most products are going to have nowadays some kind of electronic in it. Well, even if it's an LED light or whatever, it's going to have something. And that's a great idea. It really enhances what you do, and it'll broaden your client base. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And with the Internet of Things, man, I mean, everybody wants to connect and monitor somehow, or connect with our devices, and it took me a while to get to this point. We're about 7, almost 8 years into Lime Design, and we, when we first started off, we were doing more simple products, plastic, metal, wood, whatever, but not with a lot of electronics. And there's some painful steps you got to go through to like start learning how to deal with electronics, man. And actually, can you hand me that project right there? This was actually one of our first official electronic related products.
Wow.
This there's a sign that this gets connected onto, and then there's LED lights that shine through the bottom here so that it'll light your license plate. Inside of it, it has a accelerometer so that it knows when the thing is moving. So because we want to make it save power so that it turns off. I mean, it was crazy, man. Also solar power, and it has a lithium and an alkaline option in this.
Wow.
Switches over by itself and knows when to do so. I mean, but somebody looks at this, they have no idea what goes into it or what's gone into it. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and that's where we as the developers and designers have to step in. Yeah, people just see the completed box and they're like, oh yeah, it's cool. And you're like, cool. Oh my God, this took a year.
Man.
No, I love it, man. That's great.
But it's been a great ride, man. Every project makes us better.
I tell you, man, like I said, when we start, last talked, I love what you guys do. I follow your stuff. I think you really had that. And I don't say it a lot. I think you guys have that eye and that knack. And it's just going to get better. You're just broadening your horizons. And it's cool that you're seeing that. And it does take time, not only because, you want to help your clients. 8 years. That's a long time for you and I because, you might be paid. But over the big scheme of things, it's not because of look what you've accomplished. But also, that there's so much more you want to do, and that's what's driving it.
Yeah. I mean, one of my, they say you shouldn't talk about your goals too much, man, but I'm just going to drop a nugget right here on what I plan on bringing to, my environment here in South Florida. I mean, we want to have I want to have my own facility for manufacturing, even if it's not full manufacturing. It could be, logistic place where we can receive things and ship them out, maybe.
Assembly.
But ultimately, the goal is to have a full manufacturing facility.
Wow.
Right? I mean, and what else? I don't buy cars, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't buy fancy cars. I don't have, any kind of crazy, expenses.
Two things, man. One, I think you guys have heard it here. I think that's totally achievable for what you're doing. You're in a great area to do it. And you're building a foundation. You are, man. It can happen. I really think that's a great achievable goal. You'll be helping so many people.
Yeah. And even if it's not like, everything made here, we can still do a lot and grow into that. So we have an amazing prototype facility down here. I mean, my opinion, but better than a lot than most that I've seen in definitely in South Florida. Few have all the prototyping equipment that we have and all this stuff. Most of these machines are prototype machines. So, it's like, for example, our plasma cutter is the 5 by 3 foot is the cut area, 4 by 3, something like that. So the next step would be able to have a full facility that can cut everything in full size. So everything 8 by 4 or 5 by 10 foot machines. So, that's the next big thing. I'm planning on it. I'm working on it, man. And we'll definitely get back into that. And I want to figure out still for us to work together. Hey, man, this has been an awesome conversation. I want to thank you so much for making the time to chat with us and share all this information about the United Inventors Association and your history in manufacturing, brother. And we definitely want to have you back again another time. You got to come down and check us out in person whenever you get a chance.
I would love it, man. This is great. Thank you so much. I love this stuff. One, I get to talk about myself. Who doesn't love that? But I got to hear about what you guys are doing, your plans. It's really cool, man. And just as you said, I really look forward to catching up and doing other things. Anytime you want me back on the show, you let me know and I'll be here, man.
All right. Sounds good, man. Maybe next time we can talk about maybe like your the top 10 people that you guys were able to help bring to market or something, or some of your favorites or something. That would be cool,
Yeah, great idea. People love to see that. People love to really hear that it can be done.
Yep. Man, well, I want to wish you great success at the show, and let's stay in touch, man. Thank you so much. I'll share the links with you, and let's help brighten the light on the inventors, man.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Take it easy, brother. We'll speak soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching our Inventors podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay updated on new upcoming podcasts and videos. Also, that helps the algorithms better understand who to send this kind of data to so that we can get shown to more people like you and ourselves, entrepreneurs, inventors, and designers. Our Instagram and TikTok is @LimeDesign3D, and our website is limecreativedesign.com.